Well, hey there and good evening. Welcome to a wonderful stream. And I think we have a lot of things to talk about. In particular, I want to start talking about maybe a case-by-case basis, or particularly today, one case where we're going to look into Jason Landry and some of the events that are surrounding that. Hey, do me a favor, though, too, as you guys are tuning in, hit the like button on the video, and that'll shoot us out into the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys for doing that. And let me know, where are you watching from? Where is it that you are watching the video from today? And hopefully you answered the question in the poll as well as you guys were logging in. Love to see those results. We have Elizabeth tuning in from Missouri, the Show Me State, great state. Marissa from Dallas. We have Scott E. from Detroit. Keith is tuning in from his living room. Anita from Pueblo, Colorado. Waco, Texas. Shark Bite Capital. I don't know where that's at. Australia, Thailand. Are you really in Thailand? That's cool. South Texas, South Dakota, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, San Diego, Canada, Indiana, Oklahoma, Texas. Listen, you guys are tuning in from all over the place. Thank you guys for being here with me tonight. We have Renee just here in Indiana. All right, Dallas, Texas. Hello from Missouri. I'm going to check the poll and just see where we're at on that. I know some of you guys are saying, well, we don't know enough information about this case. I said, do you think that Jason Landry will be found? 56% of you are saying yes. About 44% of you are saying no. So we'll find out. We'll get to the bottom of that and ask the question maybe again in a little bit after you sort of hear the family talk about it a little bit. Jennifer Rochelle, one of our wonderful moderators. We're praying for her. Praying for you, Jennifer Rochelle. Thank you for being around here. Daxton Lassiter says, hello, Tyler. Loving the live streams. Thanks, Daxton. Daxton is someone that I know. He lives in the same town as me. Kentucky from Kansas. Great. Minneapolis, saying hello from Minneapolis. So what I want to do just as we're getting started too, there's this wonderful News Nation interview, and it's actually pretty touching, where they go on scene with Jason Landry's father and then just begin to have a sort of a conversation about what's happened with him. And I didn't know this. Like, again, we've been so deep into this other case that as we're sort of diving into this case and starting to understand it a bit more, there's some things that are happening that as I learn about it, we're sort of learning about it all together. And his dad, before he was a pastor, was actually a prosecuting attorney. And so he's used to being in crime scenes and seeing that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and play it. And then let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I might stop it part of the way through if there's something that comes up that I think I want to sort of like highlight. So
joining us tonight, we want to turn now to the disappearance of 21-year-old Jason Landry, part of our Missing in America series here on Prime. It has been 318 days since the 21-year-old left his college apartment at Texas State University and he headed home for Christmas. But between leaving school and arriving home just outside of Houston, things took a turn. On a long gravel road in Lulling, Texas, Jason's car was found wrecked with the key still in the ignition and the headlights still on. But no sign of Jason. News Nation's Marky Martin spent time with the family last week, and she is joining us live tonight with their story. Marky, each one of these stories heartbreaking. This one bizarre, just vanishing into thin air.
Marnie, it's honestly the best way to put it. There are simply no clues as to where Jason is or what happened to him. His family only knows that he is missing. And while they do believe him to be dead, they also acknowledge that with so little evidence, anything is possible. But the questions do remain. How does a college kid simply disappear on his way home for the holidays? And what happened out on Salt Flat Road?
As I was coming up in my car, I could see tire tracks leaning off right here, and you can see the tree where his car hit right there with the cross on it.
At 2 a.m. on December 14th, 2020, Kent Landry awoke to the phone call every parent dreads. Highway Patrol had found his son's car wrecked along this gravel road in Central Texas, but Jason wasn't inside. In the dead of night, Landry drove to the crash site. The former defense attorney turned pastor, shocked when he pulled up.
I've been to plenty of crime scenes, and I was expecting police and searchers, and there was no one.
Landry quickly making a startling discovery.
See, and this is his flip-flops,
A pile of his son's clothes,
socks, shorts.
some bloody, strewn across the road.
And I could tell that it was Jason's clothes because Jason wears crazy socks, bright yellow SpongeBob. And I knew those socks and I recognized his clothes.
But with temperatures near freezing that night, clothes would have been a lifeline. 3 thoughts flooded the father's mind. Why on earth was his son on this road, so far off the main highway? Where was Jason now? And why was no one looking for him?
You cry when you think of your child walking down this stupid dirt road in the middle of nowhere. I wish I'd never heard of Salt Flat Road.
Landry still finding pieces of his son's car as we walked with him down Salt Flat Road 10 months later.
This is part of his car right here.
Still wondering why law enforcement didn't react more urgently.
It's frustrating because we don't have hard answers.
Captain Jeff Ferry is the lead detective on the case. He admits early on things weren't done perfectly.
There is no inventory conducted. I don't know why. That's a highway patrol question. The trooper does not go into the vehicle. I don't know why. That's a highway patrol question. The trooper does not place a hold on the vehicle. I don't know why. It's a highway patrol question.
And it's those first hours that haunt Kent Landry to this very day.
You know, the thing as a parent, you visualize your child walking down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, not knowing anyone, looking for help. And that's the part that hurts. Yeah. So
Could you guys imagine?
that stays with you.
Eventually, the searchers did come, blanketing nearby woods and farmland, checking every abandoned home and outbuilding for miles. Since Jason's disappearance, there have been 7 large-scale search parties involving hundreds of people, canine units, horses, drones, and still nothing. Not one confirmed sign of Jason Landry. Just this month, people trained with Texas Search and Rescue fanned out, using artificial intelligence and nearly a year's worth of drone images to check 86 points of interest.
Wow.
86 places where the computers thought Jason might be. They did find bones, but none of them human.
There's no definitive information proving one thing or disproving another. And the things that we do feel extremely confident in, people don't like those.
Detective Ferry says he has absolutely no evidence a crime occurred, no evidence someone else was involved, and no evidence anyone harmed or kidnapped Jason.
We've heard drug cartel theories. We've heard alien. There's just nothing that takes us in any direction outside of here.
But the family isn't sold.
We just don't have enough to know. So I don't like to think there's a criminal, but then I don't like to think he was just wandering off and something happened either.
Jason's mom, Lisa, doesn't often talk publicly about the case. She says she often imagines her son walking through the door or getting a phone call with answers.
I guess I don't expect a phone call from him, but sometimes I do imagine him coming home. So who knows? I think it's just more for a way for me to have him close by.
A mother's intuition telling Lisa she'll one day have the answers she needs for peace. But until then, the couple leaning on each other and their faith to guide them through the unknown. Every now and then, Kent returning to Salt Flat Road alone to search for his lost son.
As a dad, that's the hard part. Oh, yeah, because you spend your life trying to take care of your kids, and then you can't. That stays with you. I hate man.
Yeah, that's obviously a really heartbreaking case and a heartbreaking situation. Sort of an overview of it. I want to walk through a timeline here in just a bit too, and sort of get your take on the timeline that somebody in the family has created, and maybe somebody in the family would be willing to come on the show. I know tomorrow, Grizzly books, true crime is going to be on the show, and we'll be talking a little bit about the Daniel Robinson case, also the Jelani Day case. And I know Kim's working on some Jelani Day material that she's going to get me as well. But we're looking into both of those cases tomorrow and taking a deeper dive. And I actually think Daniel's dad will come on the show. We have his phone number, so just need to reach out to him and ask him to come on. And somebody also sent me Joe Petito's phone number this week. And so we're working on, I think they've contacted him and asked him if he would be willing to come on. And he gave them his phone number to give to me. So we're working on maybe getting him on the show too. So I think that would be really cool to be able to have him. But when we look at Jason Landry and we look at this situation, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And for me, like, part of the reason that I'm drawn to it has a bit to do with the fact that he's a pastor. And I couldn't imagine that, and just even how the whole entire church is processing it together, and like he's coming home from college, and then my goodness, it is just crazy. And they said his Christmas presents, because he was coming home for Christmas break, the Christmas presents that they had from that year are still in the bedroom, like wrapped up, waiting in case he does come home, that he'll be able to open them. So some of the theories that I have is like, maybe he has a head injury and just took off somewhere and doesn't remember who he is. Who knows? Like, that's actual possibility in my mind. By the way, if you haven't done so yet, hit the like button. I did join a Facebook group about Jason Landry, and they were mentioning in there that sometime soon they're going to be doing dives in sort of the area to see if they can locate a body. And so I think that that's heartbreaking and really difficult, and just thinking that maybe he could be in the bottom of a pond or something in a nearby waterway. That's hard to think about. What part of Texas? So apparently it was like around Missouri City, Texas, or Southwest Houston area. And he was driving home from his college break, and this ended up happening. So I'm praying that, like G Winecoop is saying, like, I'm praying that he'll just return. Like, I'm with you. I pray that it's going to be one of those situations where he returns too. So what I want to do is go over a bit of the timeline involving this. So this is from a website that the family created. And I don't want to go through every little piece of it, but there's some parts of it I want to highlight. I wish they hadn't put it in italic text either, because it's kind of harder to read. So I hope that you guys can see this. But here's the timeline. December 13th, 8 p.m., Jason reportedly texts a friend that he's leaving to go to a friend's house in his parents' neighborhood. 10:30 to 11, text with coworkers. Employer also confirmed Jason's last snap was of Bud. Reported by employer unconfirmed. 10:45, FaceTime video call. They're tracking his phone in order to sort of see where he's at and what he's doing. 10:55, Jason leaves apartment. 11:05, Jason was driving his vehicle on Highway 80 and passes under I-35 or 135 in San Marcos. So he's on the Waze app, and the Waze is consistently hitting. Avery says, can you make it bigger? So I can make it bigger and make me smaller. So he's using the Waze app, and the Waze app is like consistently like hitting a ping or a tower. And so they're able to basically track him like second by second. That's why they're saying, like, we know he was under this, overpass or whatever. 11:07, he enters Caldwell County. 11:11, he was in Martindale, Texas, continuing south. 11:15, he passes over SH 130 on Highway 80. 11:17, he's in Fentress. 11:19, Prairie Lee. 11:21, Stairtown. 11:24, the city of Luling on Highway 80. At Hackberry intersection, Jason, this is when he stops using Waze, and then he opens up Snapchat. 11:26, phone data places Jason at the Austin and Magnolia intersection. This is his last known digital footprint. At 11:30, an oil worker drives Salt Flat. Everything seems fine. So again, they're trying to figure out, when is it potentially that his vehicle could have had whatever happened to it have happened to it. December 14th, so now it's 12:31, the Ccso master call report. The initial call is placed to Ccso to report finding the car. And so that's literally an hour time span that we don't know much about. Museum Americana says we need to divert more technology towards the missing. Thank you for that super chat. I couldn't agree more. And especially when you hear, like I heard a former FBI agent talking about this, and we'll get into why this is important in just a minute, but it's possible that they could square in a certain area and then figure out anybody at all that was using a phone device in that square miles. And so technology's there. I don't know why. We got to be able to use it. TDYR, thank you for becoming a member of the Feller fam today. You join CB White, who became a member of the Feller fam earlier. Thank you for joining that. And thank you, Museum Americana, for that super chat. So as we continue to just work our way through this, so this is an hour time frame between the time that somebody drove by and everything was great, and then by the time that there's a phone call to the police or whatever at 12:35, the dispatch says, yes, ma'am, in regards to the 1050 on Salt Flat, there is no one in the vehicle. It's going to be, looks like it took out some fence. The back windshield's knocked out of it. I have the 28 if you want it. Go ahead. Okay, I was just reading that, what it said. It didn't seem like full sentences, but 12:36. Can you advise the nearest cross street? Stand by. I'll get you a numeric. DPS Public Information Act response. DPS trooper dispatched. 904 to the county. I was unable to get a numeric. We're probably going to be like to 1100 or 1200 block. 10-4. Dispatch call. This is 102. So now this is an hour and a half since the last time somebody drove down Salt Flat and his car wasn't there. So just a little ways down from the accident scene further, it appears he's got completely undressed. I still haven't located him yet, but there appears to be an abandoned house down there. I'm not sure if he's there or not. 103. If you haven't got a 51, which is a record service, go ahead and get them started. 106. I'm going to need you to respond to the 1050 that's en route. It's going to be on Salt Flat, 4 miles north of Pumper. He's advising it looks like the occupant grabbed the backpack and threw things around. There's some blood. It looks like he may have gotten his clothing as well. The fire unit has looked up and down the road, unable to locate anybody. Hey, Michelle, welcome to the Feller fam. Glad to have you. I know you've been around these parts a lot. Glad to have you part of the Feller fam today. 108. What did the 28 come back to? Pause. It goes back to a gold 2003 Nissan Altima, Kent and Lisa Landry out of Missouri City. All right. So essentially, Avery, thank you for your super chat. Yeah, all 100% of the articles of his clothing were removed, is what it said. And I'll show you that in a second. We have pictures of it down at the bottom. Okay. Dispatch says, make a note. I'll be collecting the backpack as evidence. Approximately 10 blunts located in a CVS pharmacy prescription bottle. So could be a prescription for that, I would guess. Can you check the caller history? Last call we have is for 2379 Salt Flat. Is from April, May 12th, 2016. It was a welfare concern for the person that lived there. So they're checking the address of the abandoned house. Most of this dispatch log doesn't make much sense, and there's not much that helps. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of skip past it. And I'll put the link to if you guys want to go watch it. But here's the clothing to highlight sort of what Avery was saying. Jason's clothing was found approximately 900 feet south of the car, approximately 50 to 100 feet further south than his backpack, hat, deceased beta in the tumbler, and toiletries bag that were next to the west side of the road. The crash site was on the eastern side of the road. The clothing was around the bend from the crash in the roadway. Therefore, it would have been beyond any illumination from the car's headlight would have cast. Jason's dad discovered last known clothing, which had been seen left by law enforcement in the middle of Salt Flat. They just left their clothes there. The clothes were in what appeared to be a line: shirt, short, shoes, etc., almost as if they were removed while walking. The items found include shirt, shorts, SpongeBob novelty socks, slide sandals, underwear, and his regular wristwatch. Jason's watch was also found outstretched under his shirt on the road. Drops of blood were found on his underwear and the tag of his shorts. According to Kent at the end of the Nancy Grace podcast, the clothing Jason was wearing when he FaceTimed his friend during the 1045 was the clothing found in the road. While on the call, Jason got changed into those clothes and finished packing. Patty says, to the family of Jason Landry, Tyler, Mods, Avery, Kim, Diane, Southern Gal, Jinjin, all the Feller fam members and subscribers. Well, thank you, Grandma Patty. Thank you for the super chat. Everyone's glad to hear from you. Scene response. Now, this is in Texas, South Texas at that. However, it was like 36 degrees. And so the dad said this is one of the only nights that there ever could have been hypothermia. And that's exactly what happened. So it says this, the car was discovered by a volunteer firefighter at approximately 12:31. The DPS was the agency initially in charge of the investigation. However, both the DPS and Caldwell County were on the scene. It took the responding trooper 44 minutes to arrive to the crash site. The trooper, who was reportedly on call, went home shortly after the scene cleared. Lisa, who's Jason's mom, called the trooper around 5 a.m. to get directions for Kent, Jason's dad, so he can go to the scene, and the trooper was in bed. Law enforcement did not photograph the scene before or after the car was towed. The only known photograph is a still captured by the volunteer firefighter on his cell phone. The only item by law enforcement in early morning hours were Jason's backpack and his hats. The official DPS report notes that Jason's backpack was discovered 100 feet south of the car. However, Ccso reports that the trooper's body cam footage indicates that it was closer to 900 feet south. The DPS crash report provides yet another version of the item's location 600 feet from the crash site. Mind-boggling to me, right? I don't know why they wouldn't photograph it. You would think if you're on the scene and you're a trooper and you're the police and you can't find the guy and all this situation's going on, you would think that they'd want to dive a little bit deeper into it. Phone call. Caldwell County Sheriff's Office noted in their most recent press release that Jason's phone was on and had a cellular signal during the 67-minute period. He has a Verizon phone. Locals in Luling with Verizon service say that the service is spotty on Salt Flat. Jason's phone was located and retrieved from the car at Dick's Diesel by his dad at approximately 7 a.m. on the 14th. Jason's phone has a 6-digit passcode. Law enforcement has been able to obtain access to the phone and a number of app data sources. So there you go. Something to think about. Kim, thank you for your super chat tonight. You said the early stage of hyperthermia can be heat exhaustion. If progresses to heat stroke, blood vessels dilate to increase heat loss. People will often strip to cool down because they feel so hot, according to Medscape. Thank you, Kim, for that super chat. Do they normally take off their undergarments too? I'm wondering. And another thing that I thought was weird, like, why was he changing into clothes while he's on FaceTime with his friend? Like, to me, that's like an abnormal thing to do. So maybe people do that. I don't know if I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever done that. To me, it seems like a weird thing to do. So thank you, Kim, for that super chat. Make him do. And then too, like, I don't think you have enough time to get hypothermia at that point, right? Yeah, hypothermia. I don't think you have enough time to get hypothermia at that point, right? Because I could stand outside for like an hour, which is the maximum amount of time he likely was there. I could probably stand outside for an hour in 36 degree weather without getting hypothermia. I mean, maybe not. I don't know, but I feel like I could do it. I feel like I could tough through 36 degree weather. So I don't know. He was bleeding also. So is there a head injury involved? Jason's scent was reportedly detected in 3 places, I'm assuming by dogs. A trail leading a quarter mile south of the roadway from the car toward Luling, a vacant house located on 2379 Salt Flat Road, and a pond that was subsequently drained. All right. A pond that was subsequently drained. In late December 2020, Officer Miller with the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office gave an interview in which he stated they were no longer certain that the scent at the abandoned house or pond was Jason's. He made a reference to those areas being searched by on-scene trooper and deputy and alluded to possible cross-contamination of the scent and any scent trails. So that's super not helpful. by any stretch of the imagination. Jason's car. The only additional clothing in Jason's car was his jacket. The front passenger door of Jason's vehicle, lacking any visible damage, can only be accessed or opened from the interior of the vehicle. There were no known mechanical issues with the passenger door prior to the accident. Here's the search. By the end of December, Ccso members had volunteered over 2,000 hours and spent 9 days conducting ground searches and 3 days of aerial searches that span almost 50 square miles. That's a lot of miles to be searching. Baby Gilbert Todd, hey, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Means a lot. Love to have you as a part of the Feller fam. On February 28th, a 3-day search was launched by over 100 Ccso members, including cadaver dogs and their handlers, the Ccso mounted search and rescue team, and with them, they used the following tools: UAV drones, experts in ground search and rescue, side scan sonar, water search resources, and a helicopter, which all initiated a large-scale search. Unfortunately, none of these have led to Jason. Smaller searches continue from professional and nonprofit groups. So, here's the clothing. There's his underwear with the blood on it. There's his shirt, shorts, clothes, and backpack. The dad ended up doing the footage that you see, and it was already like a day after it had happened. I think the dad was out there doing it. Hey, Sherry, thank you for joining the Feller fam. So we got baby Gilbert Todd and Sherry. Thank you guys for joining. So you guys can see there. Yeah, just undergarments, t-shirt, shorts, and then you could sort of see like backpack and then the clothes, and then here's his car. Jason's car was found at 12:31 with the headlights on. The hood of the car was cold to touch. Law enforcement did not enter, inventory, or process the car at the scene. The car was towed to Dick's Diesel. The airbags did not deploy. There was no blood found in the car. The crash report cites excessive speed as the primary cause of the crash. So that's this case, guys, in a nutshell. What are you thinking? Like, I would be very interested in to hear what you are thinking. Michelle says, I'm surprised he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, right? So, but it is kind of surprising, but I don't think they're used to it being that cold all the time. So I don't know. Excessive speed, would that do with the trunk? Like, I don't know if it, like, and I read another thing that said it really wasn't excessive speed, honestly. So they're like, he was not really going fast. It was hard. It would be hard to be going that fast down that road. So I don't really know if it was excessive speed or not. By the way, I put the link if any of you guys wanted to join the call and just give me your thoughts on this. The link is in the, just put it in the chat. The link is in the chat. G says subdural hematoma. Okay. Cat K says, my initial thoughts are not foul play, but I could change my mind possibly. True Crime with Avery says, I suspect foul play. Was he being chased? Enemies? And here's the big question I thought of, Avery. Was he in a fraternity? And even if he wasn't in a fraternity, is this college hijinks, you know, did they have things they were all trying to accomplish together in winter break or whatever? And this had to do with that. You would think, though, it's now been coming up on a year, 11 months since this took place. You would think that at this point, somebody would have if there was some of that going on, they would have had that conversation. They would have been like, you know what, there was some stuff going on that we were doing, and nobody's really came forward to say any of that stuff. So I think, possibly too, he was talking to people on Snapchat. I don't think you should Snapchat and drive, just in case you're wondering. Please don't Snapchat and drive. There's a lot of bad things that happen when you Snapchat and drive. So don't be Snapchatting and drive. And I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to start a new poll and ask literally the same question that I had already asked, which is, do you guys think, after watching that, after reading through the timeline, what are your thoughts now? Do you think Jason will be found? Okay. I'm going to say alive. Do you think Jason will be found alive? And I'm asking the question, and let me know what you think. Avery, how are you?
Hey, hang on. I got a mic problem here. Trying to. Dang. Why does this always happen to me?
I don't know, but I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, but I can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay. So, do we know how long? I have questions. I got lots of questions. Do we know how long it was between the time that his vehicle wrecked and the time that his vehicle was found? Like, what was that time frame?
So I'll scroll up in so you can see the timeline. It's not clear. The best thing that we know is that it happened sometime after 11:35 p.m. and before 12:31 a.m.
And then what time did they find the vehicle?
So they found it at 12:31.
Oh, so that's very quick.
Yeah, so we know that 11:30 p.m. an oil worker drove by and did not see the vehicle. There was nothing unusual. So they sort of contacted like whoever the last person was that had walked down, had drove down that road, and so it happened sometime between 11:30 and 12:30.
So then, okay, so that's such a brief time between when his vehicle wrecked and they went out and found the vehicle. So how far could he have gotten in that short time frame unless somebody picked him up?
That's what okay, I didn't think about that, but I'm like, he couldn't have got far.
He couldn't have gotten far.
He could have been kidnapped, right? Or something.
Somebody could, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What if somebody was chasing him, ran him off the road, maybe to get his prescribed marijuana? I mean, kids, that age will do dumb things for dumb reasons, maybe.
Well, I don't know about that one because, like, he was driving a long distance from college to home. So, like, some random person wouldn't have known that. You know what I mean?
Okay, so how far away from his house was he when he wrecked?
So we need to look up Salt Flat Road or whatever. He lived in Missouri City. So what was that address? Salt Flat Road. 2379 Salt Flat Road. I'd never even heard of a road called Salt Flat Road until this case.
Me either.
So let's just look up 239 Salt Flat Road in Luling, Texas, and we can just get a view of it. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I do.
So this is the road. That's what they're saying. There's like an abandoned house or something there.
Okay.
So it's a really remote road. I don't even know why he would be on it because it has to be off the path. And so let's see. He was going to Missouri City, Texas. And then, so yeah, that's like over 2.5 or about 2.5 hours from where he lives, where he was going.
So,
and he was driving from Austin. So he was going south from Austin. And when he got to Luling or whatever, then he would go over to Missouri City. So he was
So the people who found his vehicle wrecked just about an hour after the wreck, and they called law enforcement, and then were they searching at that point, or did they,
So-
is that
law enforcement showed up and they didn't take any pictures. They didn't really search the vehicle. They called a tow truck, and the dad was the one who went out there.
so if the dad
Somebody
was
named-
2 hours away, so that would mean nobody was actually searching for him.
Yep.
So now
So
we're
he was-
looking at several hours.
So the dad tried to get a hold of the trooper at 5 a.m. and the trooper was in bed because he was trying to find the exact location.
Wow. Okay, so I'm understanding this right. So somebody comes up on a wrecked vehicle and they see clothes in the road and keys are in the vehicle, headlights are on, and they call law enforcement, and the most that happens is they tow off the vehicle.
And the law enforcement even left his clothes in the middle of the road.
You've got to be kidding me. Now, see, I didn't know all of this, so wow. Okay, I have to, I'm processing.
And the dad was a prosecuting attorney before he became a pastor.
And so, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, wow. Okay. I gotta think, and then I'm gonna call back because that was a lot right there for me to take in.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna call back.
All right. Bye. So I'll put the link again for anybody who wants to call in and share your thoughts. But definitely interesting. I'll just pin that actually, so anybody can call in whenever they want. Yeah, for sure interesting. Now it's like after I played that, it's like 83% of you guys are saying no, you don't think. See how many people voted. So if you haven't voted in the poll, please go vote in the poll. And by the way, if you haven't liked the video yet, please go and like the video. I don't know. Happy caffeinated couple. You asked that question. I said it both ways. I forgot what he said. I think he said he was a defense attorney, but I might be wrong. So again, like we've been so deep in the other cases that just as we're getting started in this case, that it's a lot for us to sort of be like, oh. Praise Adonai says, I believe he may have been running from a drug deal. Whoever was chasing didn't find him. He was not driving toward home. Suffered concussion. Hogs. It feels like from the family. Thank you, Praise Adonai, for that super chat. It feels like from the family that they don't think he's living any longer. I don't know for sure, but it just sort of felt like that. So I don't think I think I said it wrong. I don't think he was a prosecuting attorney. I think he was a defense attorney. The dad's been good. Like he's done a really good job of. Kathy says it felt that way as watching his dad's reaction. The dad, I felt like, has done a really good job reacting to it from my perspective, in my opinion. So Erica says someone rammed him from behind. All right, let's go look at that again. Where's the picture of the car? Yes, something happened to the back of his car, right? True Crimes with Avery says, sorry I left abruptly, but that is unacceptable. of the law enforcement, and I am angered. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. And there's a lot to it. And it definitely a lot about it that I don't understand too. So my prayer is that he's still alive. My prayer is that he's found and is okay, and there's reasonable explanation for everything that happened, but I don't know if that's going to happen, I don't know what. I don't know what to make of it. Crazy L says, I think some drugs can make a person's temp spike. Could explain removal of clothing. Maybe what can you get out of a drop of blood on someone's undergarments? It's the real question. Can you get something from that? Can you tell what's going on with somebody from that? Avery says, what searches have been conducted again? So by the end of December, Ccso had volunteered 2,000 hours and spent 9 days conducting ground searches. On February 28th, they did, with 100 Ccso members, a pretty intensive search. None of that has been able to lead to anything that even gave them any clues. So sort of the next thing that's coming up, I read online, is that they're having a diver situation. So we'll see what happens with the divers. Yeah, 9 days. Wow. But it's like, if they had been there and started it immediately, they could have ruled it out. Kim says, Tyler, what about the trucker that didn't see his car? Shouldn't have been there. Well, that's the thing. It's like his car probably wasn't there, or maybe was there. I don't know. That's what we got to figure out. Like, was the car there or not there at that time? Because it's possible his car wasn't there. So, Blessed Beach Ball, thank you for becoming a part of the Feller fam today. You joined Cherie and Baby Gilbra, TDY Earth, and CB White. Really happy to have you guys. Blessed Beach Ball. Was it his blood? You would assume if somebody has blood on their underwear that it would be their own blood, but I don't know. Was there a trucker that rammed him? Yeah, let's go look at that truck. What happened to the back of his car? I want to know what happened to the back of his car. Anita says, I read above someone commenting on it. I tuned in late, so I was catching up with the comments and saw he was diabetic. So I didn't, there's a whole lot to this. Okay. So there you guys go. Patty's calling in. Patty, how are you?
I am just fine. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I was just thinking, with the damage on its trunk, did it look like somebody hit him in the back of the trunk, and he would probably has a little bit of memory loss or whatever? You never know what he might have done. Right.
Yeah, I kind of felt like he maybe had a head injury and then like took off because he didn't really know what was going on. But I don't even with head injuries, I don't hear about people taking all their clothes off. So I don't know.
But it depends on how damaged his head really was.
That's true.
He may not have been having a temperature gauge correctly and thought, well.
That's true. So, I mean, it's a crazy situation without a doubt. Do you think he's still out there somewhere?
I do think that I don't think he's alive, but I think he will be found eventually.
I hope so. I hope he's alive, but I kind of agree with you, honestly.
I don't know where he is, though.
Yeah.
But I don't think he could have gotten very far if he was that damaged.
Yeah, I don't know either.
He could have fallen down a cliff or something. I don't know how. Probably in Texas they don't have cliffs, but
I don't know either in that area. Some areas of Texas ain't got nothing but tumbleweed.
well, that's true.
Well,
Well,
thank you, Patty, for
thank
your
you for talking
thoughts.
with me.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Yep. Bye bye.
So, what are you guys thinking about that? Good point. I I I hate that it's been 11 months, Michelle says. I agree, Michelle. That's sort of the heartbreaking part to me. It's like been 11 months. Oh my gosh, it's been 11 months. I wanted to play a video that just came out too from News Nation about the football mom that we talked about yesterday. So let me play that video just as we're still processing this.
Now we turn to a bizarre case involving a California mother who disappeared after attending her 10-year-old son's football game. That was more than 2 weeks ago, and one of the only clues left behind is her dog, found alone on the 29th floor of an apartment building about 12 miles from her home. News Nation correspondent Nancy Liu is live tonight in LA. So, Nancy, investigators looking into possible links to her job here. Walk us through what is going on.
Well, Marnie, Heidi Plank is an accountant at a firm that is under investigation. Her mysterious disappearance got even more mysterious when her dog was found wandering inside this apartment building in downtown LA. She does not live here, but no one has seen her anywhere in over 2 weeks.
Absolutely abnormal, unlikely. She would never just leave.
The best friends of 39-year-old Heidi Plank are worried sick. Things appeared normal on October 17th when surveillance video captured the divorced mother leaving her home in the Mid-City neighborhood. She drove off in her Range Rover with her dog to meet her ex-husband at their 10-year-old son's football game. But Plank left unexpectedly at halftime and hasn't been seen since. According to her ex, she seemed edgy before she suddenly left.
She didn't seem agitated. She might have been a little bit antsy, but she left with her dog. And she just walked up to us and said, I'm going to go.
Hours later, the dog was found wandering on the 29th floor of this luxury high-rise downtown, but there was no sign of her. And loved ones say Plank has no known ties to the building, but she is known to be devoted to her son. So just vanishing is highly unusual.
Yeah.
She would never do this to her boy.
Right.
You know, she's worked so hard and so hard in her custody battle for this little boy. You know, I'm his godmother, and I've seen it from the beginning to the end.
Investigators are considering whether Plank's disappearance is somehow linked to her job as a financial controller. Her employer is under investigation in an alleged $43 million fraud scheme.
She was really stressed and nervous, but she didn't go into much details. She was just very stressed and nervous.
Federal agents and LAPD served a warrant at Plank's home last week, apparently seeking evidence linked to the fraud investigation.
I just know that we're still missing Heidi, and we don't have her back, and I've got a 10-year-old boy that's just beside himself.
This is not her. It's so unlike her, and it's so bizarre, and we just want her to know hopefully she's listening. We want her home. We're going to give her a big hug.
And Plank's son is set to mark his 11th birthday this week. Her friends note her forward-thinking plans. She was planning to head back to Buffalo, New York for Thanksgiving. Also, an upcoming LA Rams game with tickets she had bought just days before she disappeared.
So that seems fishy about her job situation more than anything. And obviously some of the stuff that they're saying right now, they're trying to make the case where it's like, well, she had a lot of reasons why she wasn't wanting to, you know, end her life or whatever. She wasn't planning on this happening. So I definitely think that her job situation was leading to what took place here. Thank you, Blessed Beach Ball, for that super sticker, by the way. And so I do think we got to like take a deeper look into that case as well. And then one more thing I wanted to show you guys. Oh, hey Patricia, how are you? We're looking to that case.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
I'm
Thanks
glad
for
you are.
calling in.
I've been praying for you.
Thank you.
You've got two cases going on here. I just happened to pop on and saw that you were on. One of the cases you just talked about, Jason Landry. I was looking at the timeline on that. He was doing fine driving. He was looking at what sounded like a directional app that was helping him go somewhere. And then he opened Snapchat. And at the time he opened Snapchat, it is right after that that they lost the digital footprint. It stopped. I'm wondering if he was on the phone, you know, looking at his phone, driving. He had stopped at that last intersection, was proceeding to drive through, just got through there. I wonder if somebody rear-ended him. He might have, the phone might have flown out of his hand. You know, I've been in accidents where I've been rear-ended. I've also been hit head-on. And what happens is, even when we're strapped in great and have our headrest up in the correct position, you can get whiplash, which can immediately be brain trauma. And if that were the case, let's say it was a hit and run. Whoever hit him sped off. And let's say he's totally disoriented. He didn't pick up his phone. Maybe he couldn't find it. Maybe it got loose under the seat or something. It fell. He did have drugs in his backpack, which is marijuana. They said there was no lacing of any, you know, hallucinogenic type of substance. We don't know if he had any other substance in him that he may have taken prior to this situation where he disappeared. But my point is this: he exited that car, I think, at one point disoriented. When you're disoriented, if you've been hurt, you may have been injured. You might be bleeding from the head even. There could be all kinds of interesting things that could have happened to him. But once he got out of that car, the fact that he did not take his phone, his wallet, his backpack tells me that he was in probably very bad shape. Once he got out of that car, it's dark. It's, you know, after just about midnight at this time, pitch black, and he's out wandering around. I think he got to a point where if you're in stress, sometimes people that are very stressed out, it's happened to me, I get overheated. It's a blood pressure kind of an issue, and I feel real hot flushed. And I have to take off a sweater and sit in front of a fan. It's just the way I am. But it might have been something where he just felt overheated. You hear about people that are lost in a snowstorm. They get out of their car, and eventually, even though it's freezing cold and snowing, they say that these victims of these accidents or disorientation actually remove their clothing because they feel hot. And that's happened, you know, I've read so many reports like that. There may have been something like that where he just ended up taking off his clothes, feeling overheated. His brain is not working right. The reasoning, the logical things that would go on in a normal scenario of our life, it totally shifted gears, I think, on him. And he's wandered off somewhere. Now they've got it out, pointed out to 86 different key points now that they're going to really look again. They've done their drone grids. They're going back to, they said, look for with a white, with the preference of looking for white items on their drones images. And they said this is to look at, see if there's bones. Then they can distinguish from that, get in there, pinpoint it, and they can tell if they're human bones or animal bones. So they're going through this process right now. So I'm keeping up with that. Also, now back to the football mom, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Heidi Plank, I was the last time I think you were on, and Kim Brooks was there, and in the chat line we were kind of talking about different cases that we might show interest in, and you had mentioned one of them out of the 5, the football mom. And I typed in something on chat, and Kim jumped in, and she showed interest in it as well. After that, I went online and I began to follow the case, the reports, just like you're showing with Marnie Hughes here. There's interest in this because, again, we have all these unusual twists and turns. But the fact that the woman left without her cell phone because they found it, the police found it, they went in, was it this last weekend or something, they found her cell phone there. The house was immaculate, but her cell phone was there, which seems unusual. I looked on the video of her leaving the house, getting into her vehicle. She did not have a cell phone. She had a beverage and some other set of keys that she had in there, I assume, for the vehicle. And she had her black purse on her shoulder, on her left shoulder. Perhaps she had a business cell phone as well as her personal phone. That may be why they found her cell phone in the house. But the fact that she left the football game so soon of her son abruptly, we have to look at that. She didn't go back home. It would have been on video. Where did she go? She had a boyfriend who the ex-husband says the boyfriend, as far as he knows, is a great guy. And so what led her to go somewhere where she suddenly was not with her dog? Her dog's found on the 29th floor of Hope and Flower Apartments, 12 miles away.
Well,
look at that, and
I'll
then,
say this. My cousin was a controller for a corporation that had a lot more money than $45 million. And that's a really stressful job because every check you write as the controller is on you. And so, like, I am, brokenhearted for a situation if they put her in one where she was writing checks to things that she shouldn't have been writing checks to and maybe didn't know it. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but, over $40 million in a fraud case is a really big deal.
That's huge. And the fact that she was in that position, as you said, that would be extremely stressful.
It's a stressful position.
You
I know
have to ask
firsthand.
why. Why was her dog found on the 29th floor of this apartment?
Yeah.
That's one thing. Number two, the police tried to gain access to that apartment building, wanting to check the parking garage to see if maybe her vehicle was in there. They were denied access and told by the apartment management that the police had to get a warrant to do so, which makes sense. I don't know. I haven't heard yet that the police have since gained the warrant and then gone and they've begun a search. But I hope they have. There's storage units in that building. I went and checked out the building online too. They have a lot of different interesting Yelp reviews. I'm not going to go there, but I saw that all the parts of the building, they talked about the amenities and whatnot. There's storage units there. They're in those type of high-rise buildings, being careful how I say this, they do have chutes in the on the floors where you take your garbage and you literally dump it down the chute. And that takes it down to the, which would probably be the garage level. They have a dumpster there to capture the garbage. And then these dumpsters are then taken out and taken to the garbage dump. There's just different things that they need to check about this. But the fact that her dog was in there on the 29th floor, there's people that live in that building. I'm hoping that the police will be able to go, it's hard to go door to door, but I hope they do. And they are able to ask questions.
Me too. Do you think she's alive?
I'm like you, Tyler. I want to believe she's still alive. But if she is, I don't think it's in a good situation. I'll put it that way.
Well, Patricia, thank you for calling in today.
Oh, thank you very much, Tyler. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too. So that's a lot to think about both these cases. And there's a new sort of update on Brian Landry I wanted to play for you guys too, just about some unanswered questions.
Thanks for joining us tonight. For weeks, we have been covering every development in the search for Gabby Petito and then, of course, the manhunt for Brian Landry. While the investigation continues, the intensity of that search for answers appears to be slowing down, at least for some. And we wonder, will we ever have answers to some of the biggest questions, and also what happens now? Correspondent Brian Enton is live for us in Florida tonight. And Brian, it's been a while since we heard from the FBI about the investigation and where things stand. Do you expect them to release any more information at this point? What are the big things we're still waiting to hear?
Well, Marnie, it has definitely been very, very quiet for the last week or so. We have heard nothing officially from the FBI or police, but there is a little bit of new information that I was able to get just within the last 2 hours. And this comes from the Landry family attorney, Stephen Bertolino. He tells us that he was informed by the FBI that they have all the information they need from the Landrys for this investigation. So they are now done, apparently, communicating with the Landry family and Mr. Bertolino in regard to this investigation. What happens next? That's what you just asked. We don't know. Two things could happen from what I'm hearing from law enforcement experts. Number one, the FBI could put out some kind of press release or memo or even hold a news conference and put out to the public what they know, possibly officially connecting Brian Landry to Gabby Petito's death. Or it is possible that the FBI just never says anything and that we never find out exactly what sort of evidence they have, Marnie.
Well, let's hope it's the first of those two options. Brian Landry's remains, we know, Brian, were sent to an anthropologist to determine cause and manner of death. Will investigators release that information? Do you anticipate that will be shared with the public and the media?
Well, we think that they will have to under open records laws eventually, but it could take some time because the latest we've been told is that the examination of the remains by the anthropologist could take quite a bit of time, perhaps a month or more, and they still have to do the DNA, the official DNA testing on the skeletal remains. So all of that is likely going to take some time.
Well, and the other question I have is Gabby's autopsy. We learned about her cause of death, manner of death, but are there other details that the coroner did not release? And would they potentially release that information in the hopes that it may help provide some answers?
Absolutely. There is a lot of information that wasn't released. You remember the coroner was very, very guarded with what he would say because all of this was under investigation, basically just saying that it was a strangulation. But beyond that, toxicology and all of the other questions we had, he said he could not answer because the FBI was actively investigating. So that's another road we're going to have to go down. They will have to release that information eventually once this investigation is officially closed.
And you mentioned you're in contact with Bertolino, the attorney for the Landrys. Any plans for them next? Are they, through him, sharing what they're going to be doing? I don't think that just because the investigation slows, the attention on them stops.
Yeah, there is still attention on them. He's not really giving any details on what their plans are. You know, now they've got the no trespassing signs outside their house. We know they've been moving around Northport because we've heard from people in Northport. So they're out and about in town, but he's not revealing exactly what their next move will be.
Brian Enton, live for us in Florida. Still many questions, and the investigation continues.
Well, that's certainly true. There's a whole lot of questions, and I really hope that we're able to get some answers on that situation. We need to know what happened. Hey, I wanted to show you guys a video that I've been working on too, and it's separate than, it's not to do with these cases. It's just a video I wanted to show you guys, and this is a first draft of it, but I'm going to post a final version tomorrow. Can you guys see it? Let me know what you think.
I once heard a story about an aquarium owner. I don't know why, but he put a barracuda in the same tank as a goldfish. Under normal circumstances, a barracuda would devour the goldfish in no time. But this tank didn't have the normal circumstances. There was a clear glass partition separating the goldfish from the barracuda. And like a snake ready to strike, the barracuda would circle around and round and around until he felt the moment was right, and then, bam, he would smack that glass, just like you would if you tried to walk through a recently cleaned sliding glass door. There was no meal for the barracuda this time. A couple of hours later, he would try again to no avail. And the next day, he would fail again. The aquarium owner got used to the thud sound of the barracuda hitting the partition. Then there was a day where the owner heard no sound coming from the tank. He checked and saw that both the goldfish and the barracuda were doing fine. It was as if the barracuda had given up. And so the owner removed the partition. And the barracuda could have success if he just tried one more time. But he never did. What if you were just one more try away from the breakthrough that you've been praying for? One more job application to land your dream career. One more creative idea to be validated and fulfilled. One more invitation to church for the lost family member you lose sleep over. One more prayer to God until all heaven breaks loose in your life. So many times I think we give up when we are not called to give up. We're called to keep going one more time. And you might find out that the barrier that's held you back in the past has been removed. Don't stop.
So it's just a little promo from my book, Don't Stop, which releases November 16th, which is just around the bend. If you haven't picked up the Don't Stop book and you're interested, you can just go to my website, which is tylerfeller.com, and click on Don't Stop book. This is the best place to buy the physical copy of the book. And there's like a big holdup on Amazon right now for some reason. But if you're interested in the digital version, just the Kindle version, and it's cheaper too if you're interested in the Kindle version, you can go to Amazon and type in Don't Stop or Tyler Feller or some combination of both of those, and then you'll be able to get the Kindle version. There's some endorsements on there. Judd Wilhite, who's the pastor of Central Church. It's an amazing church, one of the largest churches in America, and several people on the stream actually attend that church. Will Hart, the CEO of this thing called Iris Global, they have 10,000 churches around the world. He read it. Tom Nolan, who's the president of one of the Christian TV stations. Brad Robinson, who's an MD, board-certified psychiatrist. If you've ever heard of The Shack, he wrote the study guide for The Shack and the movie The Shack. Bart Rendell, co-founder of Intentional Churches, and Dr. Joyce Porcadilla, who's the president of the General Baptist Bible College in the Philippines. They all read the book and gave me great quotes about it. And so if you guys are interested, you can pick it up there. And then something too, we don't talk about much, but if you're interested in any of the merch that we have, you can go to tylerfeller.com/merch. I'm wearing the Feller Fam shirt, the American flag Feller Fam shirt today. So you can see what that looks like. And then I got the Feller Fam mug, campfire mug. So if you're interested, you can just go to shop, men, women, kids, babies, accessories, and stickers. The stickers are pretty cool too. The hoodies are really comfortable. So just something for you guys to think about if you're interested in any of that stuff. And Jason Landry thing. So when we're talking about Jason Landry, Happy Caffeinated Couple, thank you for that super chat. Love that promo and illustration. Thank you. There's one part of it that I changed, and so I got to fix it, and then I'll post it hopefully tomorrow. And so hopefully when I post it tomorrow, if you guys don't mind sharing it, I'm going to post it on YouTube. And if you don't mind taking the link tomorrow and just sharing it out to like whoever, because it will really help me. Grandma Nancy, retired EMT, says, I wonder if the dog followed where she was taken or followed the person. Animals are very smart. Just a thought. I wondered that too. Like we're talking about the football mom. What happened with the football mom? How did all of that sort of like shake down? And I just wanted to introduce that to you. Mainly, I didn't want to deep dive into that case tonight because I wanted to focus on this Jason Landry situation. But I did want to put it out there because that was some new news that had broke about it since sort of the last time we talked about the $45 million fraud thing. But that dog is going to be a key piece. Like if dogs could talk, right? If we could get dogs to talk, then we could definitely have some conversations about that. Jen says, did you get my email? I did not. I don't think I got an email from you. So I'm just looking. I didn't see an email from you, Jen. I'm sorry. Kathy says, thank you, Kathy, for the super chat. Great video and illustration was awesome. Thanks for all you do, Tyler. Thank you, Kathy, for your support. Thank you for your super chat. It means a lot. The book is not available on audio yet. That's mainly because I was going to do the Audible version, and it is mainly contingent on me recording it. And honestly, most of the days, I do not feel good enough to be able to sit here and do it. And I recorded that voiceover like months ago. So, because it's like pretty strenuous on me. So hopefully Hopefully we'll get an audible version up soon, though. By the way, Sally Hoyle sent me $9.66 on Cash App. Thank you, Sally, for sending that over on Cash App. I love Cash App. I'm new to using it. They let me design my own card that goes with it, which was really cool. So really, I really like it. I don't know if there's more to talk about on this case or not. I think what I'm going to do is just pray for Jason and his family. If anybody knows anyone in the family, let them know we did this stream tonight to help bring awareness. I posted it on one of the Facebook groups for Jason Landry, and it was like, I think they deleted it and kicked me out of the group. So it didn't feel like really liked other people on their group posting or something. So if anybody knows anybody in that family, just say, hey, a pastor on YouTube is covering your case and praying for you guys. So True Crime says, Tyler, I read Jason's car was 30 miles from campus. So let's see where. Text a friend, text coworkers, FaceTime video call. 10:55, he leaves his apartment. So that makes sense, Avery. He left his apartment at 10:55. So yeah, he was about 30 minutes or so from his house where he left. So strange. Thank you. I don't know, Cameron, if I was kicked out or not. The thing was, like, I don't know if some groups don't want other people posting, especially when they just first join. And all I did was post the link. I didn't say like, hey, I'm a pastor covering this case. I just posted a link to the video. So if they kicked me out, I don't blame them for doing it, honestly. Very interesting. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I did sneeze. By the way, thank you all of you who were just praying for me and like about my brain scan yesterday that I had. Many of you guys were praying for me. It's why we didn't do a stream. It took a lot of energy because I had to drive to another city that was like 2 hours away, and it took a lot longer than I thought. It took like an hour and 15 minutes to do it. And then by the time I got done and drove back, I was just really tired. Avery says, let's dissect the damage on the vehicle. Okay, so here's the vehicle. That's the volunteer fire department's photo at the top, I'm assuming. So the headlights are still on. There's some X's marked on the vehicle, and then there's no back glass. It is interesting about the back glass part of it. It's like he's off of the road, though. Is it possible the back of his vehicle could be injured with no like outside forces against him? Like I could see like if you go off the side of the road and your bottom hits and it sort of just jumbles things up. You don't necessarily have to be hit. Chris Spunky, I feel the dog was there for a reason for sure. Any new info on Daniel? Will you be emailing the timeline info out? If so, I would appreciate it. So I already emailed that out to you, Chris Spunky, about Jason. About the info with Daniel, tomorrow is going to be a great day to be on here because we have Grizzly Books True Crime going to be on here, and she has done a thorough job on Daniel's situation. She's had conversations with his father on a couple occasions, I believe. And so she's going to be on here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Daniel, and we're going to be talking about Jelani Day tomorrow. And so it's going to be a really good day tomorrow. I hope that you guys are going to be able to join the time in the call tomorrow. We're going to go on a little bit earlier. I think like a 7:45 Central Time Zone tomorrow. So thank you though for that super chat. DK says, why does the damage look worse at the impound? That's what I'm wondering too. Like the damage. So like if the top picture's at the scene, it's like, did the tow truck do that? you know? Because like the top picture doesn't look that bad. Felicia, thank you for that super chat. And the lights were on. The back lights were on too. Linda, thank you for picking up the Don't Stop book. 2 copies of the Don't Stop book. Thank you for picking that up. I really think you're going to love it. It makes a great Christmas gift too. So yeah, the back lights are on and the front lights are on. And then when you look at the bottom pictures, it's like, what happened? Is it the tow truck incident? The airbags did not deploy. The crash report cites excessive speed as the primary cause of death. Cause of the crash. I don't know. Is there something that's just not sitting right with you guys about this? What do you think, Avery?
Okay, so like I missed everything that you said about football mom because I had to go digging on Jason Landry. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what kind of accident would cause front damage to the passenger front side? The driver front side, and then the entire backside and windshield. Because if it was trees, wouldn't the back of the vehicle be smashed up against a tree?
Well, that's what I was asking a second ago. I'm like, is it possible that your back end could be damaged just by going off the road and hitting something? But the point that other people were making was like, that back end does not look damaged in the picture on the crime scene. It looks damaged when it's at the tow truck place. So did the tow truck cause the damage? Because look at the top picture. Like that vehicle looks fine pretty much.
That is very weird because in the other pictures, like the whole bumper is gone.
Yeah.
The entire whatchamacallit, the trunk, the top of the trunk is completely gone, and then the back windshield's gone. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Very interesting. Hey, if you're part of the Feller fam, can you hit the very interesting emoji? Would love to see it flying through there tonight. Very interesting.
And then, so the other thing is, so now that I've seen that he was only 30 minutes from, well, what I read was 30 minutes from campus. So I guess same thing as apartment is what they're saying.
Or apartment or whatever, yeah.
So have they questioned people at the campus? Did he have a roommate?
So they questioned the guy that he was FaceTiming with, apparently, which I think is weird that he was like changing his clothes whenever he was FaceTiming. But I don't know. It sounded like nobody really had any information. All they did was confirm that was the clothes he was wearing.
So we don't know if they've questioned people on campus, or we don't know if he had a roommate.
I don't know much about this case. Everything I know, I've said tonight.
So, and then the other thing is the marijuana. So I thought it was a prescription, but
I didn't know if it was or not. It was in a prescription container, which could have just been a little, police.
Okay. And then I seen that his phone was found, and it was still on in between the driver and passenger seat, and they don't understand why there had been no usage on it.
Hey, Avery.
Hi.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, how's it going? I want to shout out Sandra for the super sticker and Kim D, who sent a super chat. Thank you guys so much for your support. I thought I'd add Kim on here too.
Oh, heck yeah. What are you thinking, Kim?
Well, I've been over here discussing it with my husband, and I know my super chat was kind of cryptic. What I was meaning was, I think when the truck drove by, I have a couple of thoughts. I'm really curious about that semi. The oiler truck.
Yeah.
I feel like when that truck went by, that his car would have had to be there. So I'm curious about that truck. Either the truck driver had his time wrong or something, but it really does look like it could have been hit by a semi and spun and hit twice.
Well, he left campus or left his apartment at 10:55, and that
Mhm.
car drove by at 11:30. So I mean, it's like, and it was 30 miles away according to Avery. So when you do all of it, add it all up, then it's like it may or may not have been there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know for sure, but I just think it looks like it was hit by a semi because back in my early teens, 16 to 18, I was in 6 different wrecks, and some of them were bad. Yeah,
Dear golly, Kim.
I was not a good driver back then. Yeah. But it's been that many years. I won't, I'm not superstitious, but I'm not going to say how many years it's been, but it has been since those years since I wrecked my car. But if you hit something from the front, I hit a telephone pole going 65 miles per hour. If you hit something from the front, typically the roof will bend before the back would bend. So if you were going to see the back bend from impact, you would have a bend on the roof too, I would think, because my car was very similar to his. It was a 1989 Mustang. So it's a very similar build body style.
I don't see a bend at all.
Me either.
And so that's what's making me think, that it was not from the front end impact. And then also the impound picture and will you show those pictures again, Tyler, for a second?
I would be glad to.
It definitely looks like it was hit from the back.
It does. And that rear passenger light, right, is on in that picture and on in a pristine manner. It's not just on. You can even see the fin, the spoiler of the car.
Yep.
But these pictures on the impound lot don't look like there's any way that even the passenger, especially that one in the bottom left, that passenger light could have been on and not turning off or not anything. So,
yeah, because the tail lights aren't even attached. And then I noticed
Avery, for some reason, your mic is like super loud.
Oh, I don't know how to.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you about except for
talk softer. No, I'm just kidding.
Back it up a little bit, but
mic volume. Am I better?
Yes, that's better.
Southern Gal Jen says, I have missed so much tonight, but I will go back and catch up. Lots of family things going on. Prayers for all. And then she says this, did it roll? Thank you, Southern Gal Jen, for the super chat. And that's a great question. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see any damage on the top. Is my volume okay now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. But I did notice the driver rear view. What do you call that little mirror on the driver's side?
The rear mirror?
Side mirror. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's gone. So it's like he was hit from the back and it's like it pushed him into something. And it had to have, whatever he pushed into had to have, if it was a tree, it knocked that mirror off.
People in the chat, do you think that the damage to the back was from the tow truck or it's damage on scene? And we just can't tell. That's the sucky thing about this. Is like the police took no photos, and the only picture was that volunteer fire department guy who called in the car to begin with, and that was the one picture.
Tyler,
my mind is blown.
Do you know by chance what kind of relationship, or maybe you read anywhere, Avery, did you read anywhere the kind of relationship he has with his family, with his parents? I mean,
seems like he had a great relationship. I watched several videos of the parents. I watched 2 interviews with the dad, and it seemed like they had a great relationship, loving relationship. They talked often.
It almost seemed staged, is why I was asking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It seems staged, especially with the clothes in a line, in a row. Why would there be blood just in his underwear? Just a spot of blood.
It's really a strange thing. And I wonder where they had that little measuring device there.
Oh, that's a good point, Keith. My dad, somebody was mentioning that he's diabetic. That's where my dad's pump would be on him. So if the pump came out or if he ripped the pump out, that could leave that spot. If he had a pump, and most kids, I shouldn't say that. A lot of kids who are that age and who are diabetic do use the pump. Then that's where the pump would be.
I knew people who would. Your video now just says webcam effects, virtual camera, but I knew a lot of people who would have to poke themselves, and they would poke themselves like in their stomach and other places.
Well, my thing is, so if he walked
I'm gonna go out and
off
come
with
back
a
in.
Okay.
if he walked off with a head injury, then when they were searching with canines, they would have been able to follow his scent. They would have found something.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there was some of what we're talking about, like scent dogs, and then later the police officers were saying, well, maybe the places they thought we were picking him up on were corrupted because the trooper was in his vehicle and then went to those places, and so they basically had to throw out anything that the dogs came and searched for.
I have a vibe that there's more to this. That's just the vibe that I'm getting. I think there's more to this. I don't know what it is, but
You think it has anything to do with his dad's former profession before he was a pastor or something like that?
I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about that too.
When I was in high school, there was a state trooper who got shot, and it shook our little town. I grew up in a town of about 300 people, and it was somebody that had got pulled over by him or whatever, and that guy was likely going to go to jail, I guess, and had followed him home and got him when he got pulled into his house for the night.
Mhm.
And it's like, criminals are criminals. Is
Because
my
his
point.
dad was a prosecutor, right?
I think defense attorney. I think I said it wrong the first.
Defense attorney. So that could even make it worse if he defended somebody that people believed was guilty.
Or didn't do a good job defending somebody or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I get the vibe that there's more to this.
I don't understand why he was on this particular Salt Lake Road or whatever it was, because it makes no sense to me when you look at the pathway and somebody's like, who's taking the rural route or whatever. I'm like, I don't think so. This would be the extremely rural route.
Yeah, that's what Keith keeps saying too. He said it was either intentional or he was confused already.
Did he have a prescription or not? Because if he didn't have a prescription, he could have been going to pick up his prescription. Jane Doe says, I'm curious if the clothing was proven to be his. Are we sure he was the one driving the car? So yes, Jane, thank you for that super chat. Answer is yes to both of those. The clothing is for sure his. It was confirmed by the guy he was on FaceTime with. And then the second thing was, yeah, he was driving the car because he was using his phone, and the phone matches everything that's going on in the car.
And I wonder if somebody was following him when I think Patricia was talking about Snapchat, about him opening that and that being the last thing. I wonder if he was trying to send a message of some kind, like send a video of somebody following him or of something or.
Now that sounds staged to me too, because they have 3 pictures of him in a store and, with the last articles of clothing that he was wearing that was known. But now if somebody is saying, oh, he was changing his clothes on Snapchat, like that's weird. Who does
he was
that?
changing his clothes on FaceTime before he left.
Okay, so the pictures that they have of him in that store, those are the clothes that were found in the road?
Whatever clothes he was wearing, he changed into while he was on FaceTime with his friend before he left.
So weird.
I mean, to me, that's really a strange situation. Can't even think about that. I'm like, I don't know anybody who does that.
This is definitely a case that makes you go, Like I'm confused on this one, really.
Are we sure? Do we know that he's a type 1 diabetic? Is that a fact, Tyler?
I don't know what type diabetic he is. I just know he was diabetic, according to what everyone's saying.
Yeah, I think. Well, for most kids that are adolescents, I think are type 1. Type 2 is usually adult onset. But if he was a type 1 diabetic and had a low, I've seen my dad do some really weird things when he's having a low.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. We lost a kid in our church, a 16-year-old, to type 1 diabetes. and it is, there are some things that happen, and he had some moments that were questionable, with his mind sometimes, not often, like maybe one or two times in the whole 5 years I knew him, but
Yeah,
it is.
my dad, when he has when he gets a really bad low, it can be almost incoherent. I mean, it's pretty strange to watch somebody have a really bad low from diabetes.
But this one I knew didn't have a pump. Like, his family always took care of him and came and checked his blood sugar and provided insulin for him constantly.
Yeah, it's do you remember, I know that the movie, what is it? Now I'm not gonna think of the title. Fried Green Tomatoes? Well, the girl Shelby Lynn, was that the name of it, Keith? Fried Green
Oh, Still Magnolias.
Still Magnolias, thank you. Thank you.
I don't know about either of those things you guys are
At
talking
the end, she has a low, and that's how she dies. And she
Yeah.
in the salon, and she just, I mean, that's kind of, what I've seen my dad kind of do. And if you were driving around and had a low, now I could see that cause you to hit something. And I kind of wonder if there's two different things going on. Like maybe something medically happened to him and he did something erratic, and then somebody else hit him and kept going.
Mhm. Baby A 2005 says maybe he opened Snapchat map to see who was around him. Could be.
That's a good point.
And or he could have just been Snapchatting too. Thank you for that super chat.
But
And we've
still,
never-
like, where would his body be? Like, if they did searches, especially with dogs, they would have found. I mean,
If they would have done a search immediately and they could have ruled out, like, at this point, my brain goes like, is he kidnapped? Because, who knows what happened?
What if a drunk driver hit him from behind and then forced him out and took him off somewhere? I mean, it could be a gazillion things.
It could be a gazillion, and that's what I was telling my husband. I said, I mean, poor truck driver. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying a possible scenario is if a truck driver were to hit him, you wouldn't necessarily see that kind of damage on a truck. But if the truck driver happened to be, drinking or high or something like that and hit him, you can lose your CDL, your whole entire career for that. Yeah, I used to do some work for a doctor that did CDL exams, and he was like, the number of guys that have begged me and bribed me to not fail their CDL exam because it's their sole source of income. It's crazy. So if you think about that, if they're willing to bribe a doctor, what would they not be willing to do? And maybe, it wasn't that particular truck driver, but, I could see that being a possibility. If a truck driver hit him and if the truck driver was not completely sober, that would be, end of living. I mean, end of making a living if they called anybody. So I could see them.
That would be scandalous.
And I want to know why this law enforcement agency is not under scrutiny for lack of investigation.
I mean, the Texas State Trooper is who it was.
Yeah, and Danny made a good point. Danny in chat said, well, if you're in a low hypoglycemic state, you wouldn't strip off your clothes. That's true. You wouldn't be able to move to do that.
That's true. Yeah, my ex-husband, he actually got pulled over one time. He was having a low. He actually got pulled over and got arrested for a DUI. And then they had to, do blood and everything. He ended up going to the hospital, and it was his sugar was too low, but they had actually arrested him for a DUI. So
yeah, while we're just throwing out pure speculation here, another possibility is someone could have picked him up, and if he was in bad condition, if he had stripped off all his clothes for some reason, was in bad condition and died in their vehicle, what would they do?
Well, a normal person would take him to the hospital.
Well, yeah, but
but we're not dealing with normal people anymore.
Right.
If it was me or you, we would have taken him to the hospital.
I don't know. I might have pulled over and called Tyler. Help.
You know what I do? I've done it more times than I can count. I will go and run to the vehicle and sit there with him until an ambulance comes or something.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is a very strange case, though, I have to tell you.
It is bizarre. It is.
You know, I would love to have the dad on and we could ask him some tough questions about things that would help, I think, people. Internet, if they want it, they might not want internet sleuth like us working to find it. They might have a different perspective after 11 months on it. I would assume that in the next month, as it gets close to the year mark, there's going to be a lot more renewed energy around it. So,
and you're still,
that's interesting. Hi, H. I'm sorry, I'm butchering her name. H. Contrali says, a friend of mine, type 1 diabetic, found naked in his home, deceased. There you go. Living room turned upside down as if there was a struggle between him and another person. Police said no foul play. So I don't know. Maybe it can cause some hallucination.
Oh, wow. Wow. Tyler, you're not kicked out of that group on Facebook. I see you in there.
I joined another one, or I joined it again.
Oh, you're persistent.
You know,
you're like, you're not
I
going
wrote
to
a
kick
book
me
called
out.
Don't Stop.
I'm coming back.
Before we jump off, I just want to throw something out there while you're both here on the call, because I actually wanted to mention it to Avery and see what she thought. But on the Heidi case, what do you think the possibility, you know, she was distressed. Patricia and I were kind of talking about this in chat. She was distressed, right? Her husband or her ex-husband said she's distressed and she left. That was a nice swanky building. They're not, cooperating. They said they'll do it only with a search warrant or subpoena. What are the possibilities she was going to turn state's evidence and maybe, left her dog somewhere where it would be found? Well, two options: left her dog somewhere where it would be safe because inside not going to get hit, and found. And she might not have had time to plan. That might have been why she was so distressed. They might have said, "You got to meet us now."
Is this the football mom?
Yeah.
And I missed that whole thing because I got mad about Jason Landry and jumped up and ran to my laptop and was just Googling.
Southern Gal Jen sent me this article. Missing California woman's ex-husband suspects foul play. There's something dirty here. Heidi Plank, a Los Angeles mother, has been missing for more than 2 weeks as of Tuesday, and her ex-husband suspects that there may be some foul play behind her disappearance. Plank's family reported her missing to the Los Angeles Police Department on October 20th after she failed to pick up her 10-year-old son from school, but she was last seen on October 17th when she abruptly left her son's football game in Downey before it was over. Jim Wayne believes his ex-wife's job may have played a role in the disappearance after receiving a phone call from the SEC on October 21st asking him what he knows about her boss, Jason Sugarman. I don't know how he got my name, and I don't know how she got my number, but she called me and started asking me questions about Sugarman. Something's dirty here. Plank was working as a controller and executive assistant for an investment advisory company under investigation by the SEC called Camden Capital, according to LinkedIn and Facebook. The SEC charged Camden Capital in 2019 and their partner, Jason Galanis, with securities fraud. They've developed a scheme to steal $43 million from their clients, and they purported to invest in Native American tribal bonds. So...
Oh, it sounds like she may have been collateral damage, because if she was the controller, then she was designating what accounts money goes into, forming accounts, and all of that.
Yeah, there's about, I would say there's some people that are saying, yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that she either knew something or it could have turned state's evidence. Because I could see if they told me, especially, we're not going to be in that position. I mean, obviously my husband would wonder where I'm at, but in her situation, with her only having her ex-husband, if they told her, maybe not even permanent witness protection, but state's evidence or something like that, her wanting, and again, this is just pure speculation, but wanting to leave her dog somewhere where it wouldn't be out on the street, but it would be found quickly so it wouldn't go hungry in her house, and somebody said that they let her take her dog. And I'm not sure, especially if it was like state's evidence where they were just putting her up somewhere and they couldn't necessarily take a chance on.
She wouldn't leave her son, though, would she?
If she was coming back, if it was state's evidence and not true witness protection, I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do that.
So
They
state's evidence, they would just hide her away till the trial.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious.
I don't know. I know people who've been in a situation like this, and it's like they kind of knew stuff was going on. She might have been being charged, you know.
Yeah.
How could you be? She wasn't just the controller; she was executive assistant, which is weird combination, especially of a company that has that kind of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Because a controller is two people's full time jobs, and with that type of revenue, in my opinion. So
And you
I
know, that
don't.
almost sounds like, well, I don't even want to speculate, but you're right. That's very odd for someone to be an administrative assistant and a controller.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might know your employers pretty well.
You would know. Because you can be a controller and you're sort of secluded from what's going on, and they could be doing shady things without telling you what they are, and you can just be doing stuff. And still, if you're a good controller, you'd probably figure it out. But when you're the executive assistant, you're reading all of the emails.
You know
You're in
everything
on
pretty much.
everything.
I mean, not necessarily saying she did. I don't want anybody to get me wrong, but I'm saying most executive assistants know the boss's everything as
Mhm.
much. And if you are made controller and executive assistant, you probably know a lot. And so it may be that she didn't realize what she knew until she did and said something and became the squeaky wheel kind of, or collateral damage, as Avery said.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have
Scandalous.
to look that one up. Have you guys looked into the Jelani Day case at all?
Yes, I'm putting together a dossier. No, I'm just kidding. I'm putting together a summary of that for Tyler. I
The
had
Brooks
my own little
dossier.
I had my own little medical crisis yesterday, so I didn't get to finish it yesterday, but I
Oh
will.
no.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's just the same thing. I have a cyst or a polyp or something in my cheek, and we don't know what it is. So yesterday I looked like a squirrel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Penny Miller says, "Loved your sermon Sunday. I'm praying for you, and I see you yawning. Need some rest." Thank you, Penny. Thank you for your super chat. I do need some rest, but not yet because I want to hear about Jelani Day. And tomorrow, Kim, I want you to give us. That's the next thing I was going to ask you, because we're going to have a show sort of dedicated to Jelani Day / Daniel Robinson. But
Mhm.
give us a little primer on what to expect in this case. I'm new to it. I'm
Ooh.
brand new to Jelani Day.
Yeah, he so the gist of what I know at this point is that he was last, and Avery, if you know this case, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm still putting everything together. But he was last seen at a dispensary, med student, very close to his mom, always texted her, and really just disappeared. And his mom couldn't get any help, couldn't get any help from the police, couldn't get them to do anything until there was a body found in water with most of its organs gone.
That's not true.
Okay, correct me.
Yeah, the mom put a statement on, I believe it's on her Facebook page or her Twitter page, saying that that is completely inaccurate about his organs being
That's
gone.
all over the news. I'm glad that you told me that then. And you found that on on her Facebook page?
Mhm. And
Yeah.
she was on the news too and said it that that was completely inaccurate information.
Well, I wonder how that got. Okay, so I'll have to research a little bit more into that. But yeah, originally everybody was saying that the body was found in a very strange condition. That pretty much that's what they were saying was all the organs were gone. But she had to try for a month to get them to confirm that it was him, and she had to go out and give them DNA. She had to really be proactive with this.
Mhm.
They told her that he had committed suicide, and she doesn't believe that at all.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the gist of it. Avery, you have anything else to add?
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk more in depth tomorrow, but do you have anything? Did I correct me if I said anything wrong?
I'm not positive on this, but I think the reason it took so long for the dental records is because the bottom of his jaw was sawed out, is what I read.
Yeah,
But
that was what I'd read. In addition to the some of his like his eyes were missing supposedly. The bottom of his jaw was sawed out, but
Uh-huh.
supposedly it was suicide, is what the police are telling the mom.
Yeah. And so there's been 3 autopsies, and now they're saying drowning, that he drowned. But the weird thing is He took his shirt and his cap off and put them in the trunk of his car. He removed the license plates from his vehicle. Nobody knows where the license plates are. And then, before going into the water, took off the rest of his clothes. Here's the strange thing. 2 girls from the college campus supposedly got bored one day and decided they wanted to go out there and search for evidence relating to his disappearance. And somehow they knew the exact spot to go on the river, which had not been released by the police, had not been released by anybody, knew exactly where to go and found the rest of his clothes. So the mom had questions and the police department had questions. They wanted to know, how did you guys know where to go? How did you, we have questions. Both girls lawyered up instantly. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. One thing that really broke my heart about it, and it was confirmed, his mom was on a news station. I can't remember the name of it. And she was saying that she finally heard her son's name on the news. And so she was like, finally, his name is on the news, finally. And she said she went in and she looked at the TV and they had a picture of Gabby Petito on the screen. And so she's telling, this news person, they're in a studio doing an interview. She's telling the news anchor about this. And then the news anchor confirms it. And she says, yeah, we had noticed that too. And we reached out to, I think it was ABC or something. And they're claiming that it was just a mistake. It was an error. But they were like, who makes that kind of mistake? And his mom just broke down. She was just crying because it was like she fought and fought and fought to get her son's name on the news. And then the very first time she hears it on the news, they accidentally are doing pictures of Gabby and Brian. And she said it just shattered her.
Man,
it had me crying. I was
awful.
I was ugly crying. It was horrible.
Cindy Lay mentioned, she said, Tyler, thank you for covering the disappearance of Jason Landry. There was a lot of misinformation tonight. I urge you to research this more. And so, Cindy, definitely,
I just read straight from the website that was from a family member created.
Probably talking about chat, probably a speculating maybe he's not diabetic. But I would just urge Cindy, if you know information that would help Tyler, email press@tylerfeller.com.
Yeah, thank you.
Because any help would be. It seems like that there's not a whole lot of information out there that.
I agree with Kim.
People are saying that Jason's not diabetic. I don't know for sure. I'm just when somebody asks me that, I'm like, everybody keeps saying he was. They're not. I don't know for sure. Guys, be nice to us. It's a new case. It's our first day on it. We're trying to shed some light because he could possibly be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not listen, I'm personally not going to call Landry. I don't have enough time in my day to be calling people. If one of you guys reach out to him and he wants to be on, we can arrange that. But personally, I'm not going to go track down everybody that could possibly be on the show. But if you guys do it, that would be great. I would love to have them on.
Yeah, but absolutely. If you do know things, in all seriousness, please email Tyler. It's press@tylerfeller.com because it looks like there's a couple of people that have done some really good research on all of these cases, looking at chat. So that would be
awesome. Yeah.
If you have information that would help, please do. If you don't want to call in, email in.
Yeah, because we want factual information so we can, we can be the channel that is, we want to stick to the facts. Obviously, everybody, you're going to speculate. That's just human nature. But in the end, we want the facts.
Yeah, Felicia, I see Tyler, I see Felicia Sundgren says, Jason's dad is willing to speak with you in another broadcast. He can correct a lot of the inaccuracies and give factual information. Jason is not diabetic, so that's good to know. The family welcomes the coverage. So Felicia, please email Tyler, press@tylerfeller.com. Please.
Awesome.
That would be great.
And lately I've been making Avery do my PR work.
Oh, I know. I had to get a hold of Joseph Petito, and I'm like, Hi, Mr. Petito. This is Avery Shannon, PR for Tyler Feller. I'm like, yeah, I got a title now.
From the Tyler Feller Show.
Yeah, I'm thinking Cindy Lay. Thank you, Cindy. Must be a good friend of the family. Or she says, thank you all so much. We want to get you the facts. We want as many people as possible to know. So thank you so much, Cindy.
Awesome.
Please email Tyler.
And I also read that there is a lady by the name of Heather Sasser who is a relative of Jason's who has been posting information on Facebook. And I was trying to find her Facebook page and I have yet to find it. So, but I read that on a news article.
If he's not diabetic, well, then that sort of throws that conversation out.
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's so great that Cindy and Felicia might be able to get the factual information. So, and both of them are being very positive. They're just trying to help us correct.
And I agree. Like, we need to do that. We want positive. We want like facts, and we want to connect with the families, and we want to have them on here, and I want to have Daniel Robinson. I want his dad on here. I got his phone number. He's willing to come on.
So. Avery, if you have time, why don't you reach out to Jaylani's mom? I bet, like, I'm making more work for you.
Yeah,
but I bet she would love to come on.
I've been trying to get a hold of her because, so, you know, I want to do these like pre-recorded videos, and that was one of the ones I wanted to do. And I've been trying to get a hold of her. Trying to find her contact information has been pretty hard for me. So if anybody else finds it and they could send it my way, that would be great. And then I could see if she wants to come on Tyler's show. And you know, Tyler, if you're ever not feeling well and you just need a night off, I think me and Kim could just like handle this for me. He's not smiling.
Yeah.
I think you guys should do the Tyler Feller Show if I'm not able to do it. You guys can log on to my account and do it for me.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump off. On
and with that, Kim's out of here.
With that,
Kim, let me pray for you. And then I want to pray for Jason. And then we're just going to call it a night because I don't feel very good anyways tonight. And I'm feeling tired. And I do a Bible study for the basketball team in the mornings on Thursday mornings. So I got to do that tomorrow too. So,
okay.
So, Father, right now, in the mighty name of Jesus, I just speak to whatever issues going on in Kim's face under her eye, any cyst, any growth, any confusion. In the mighty name of Jesus, we tell it to go. And I just declare your total healing over her body. Thank you, Jesus. By your stripes and by your wounds, you paid the full price for total healing in anything in her body that's out of order, your divine order. We call it back into order right now. In Jesus' name, thank you for touching her. And then, Father, I just right now speak on behalf of the Landry family, and I pray that you overwhelm them with your comfort. You overwhelm them with your peace. Your word declares you're close to the brokenhearted, and I know it has to be hard as December's rolling around, that year anniversary mark, and still they don't have answers. So your word declares to search you and seek you, and you'll tell us remarkable secrets of things not yet known. And in this case in particular, Father, would you give us your secrets from heaven about what's going on in this case? And Lord, I just pray you protect them and give them grace in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, guys, for being on.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Thanks, guys, for joining. Don't forget, if you're interested in picking up the Don't Stop book, you can go to tylerfeller.com and click on Don't Stop book. It comes out November 16th. Would love to have you have it. And by the way, all kinds of merch on tylerfeller.com too. This is the Feller Fam American flag shirt. I thought it was kind of cool. And then here's the campfire mug. So just some cool things there. And if you pick up some merch, please send me a picture. I want to know what you look like in it, because I don't get to know who purchases the merch. I get a notification on my phone when somebody gets a book. I don't know when somebody gets merch. So please let me know if you get merch. I want to be able to see it. Hey, thanks for being on here tonight.